Mary set out and went as quickly as she could to a town in the hill country of Judah. She went into Zechariah's house and greeted Elizabeth. Now as soon as Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the child leapt in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. She gave a loud cry and said, "Of all women, you are the most blessed, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. Why should I be honored with a visit from the mother of my Lord? For the moment your greeting reached my ears, the child in my womb leapt for joy. Yes, blessed is she who believed that the promise made her by the Lord would be fulfilled." The story of the meeting between Mary and her cousin Elizabeth is very familiar to us. Maybe a little too familiar at times. We don't always pause and give it thought. It's part of our preparation, our run up to Christmas. It's part of our Advent season. And we take it as such. It's just one of the things that happened leading up to the birth of Jesus. But there's more to it than that. And maybe it's good for us to pause and think of the setting in which that meeting took place. Immediately prior to this, in Luke's Gospel, the angel, God's messenger, appears to Mary and invites her to be the mother of God's Son, to bring God's Son into the world. And according to Luke, the first thing that Mary does isn't to rush and tell her parents, with whom she was still living at the time, or to tell Joseph, her betrothed. No, the first thing that Mary does is set off on a long journey to visit her cousin, Elizabeth. Luke's not very specific about where that journey leads. He just said Elizabeth lives in the hill country of Judah. So from Nazareth, it could be anywhere from 80 to 100 miles. In the days before stagecoach and Brit Rail, that was a long journey. It would probably take 4 or 5 days. It wasn't something to be undertaken at the drop of a hat. And yet, for Mary and for Luke, this was a hugely important journey for her to make, a hugely important meeting to take place. It's important as part of the story of the coming of Christ that Luke's telling. It's part of the parallel that Luke is drawing between the coming of John the Baptist, of the last great prophet, and of Jesus. Luke tells the two stories in similar ways. It starts with the announcement of an angel to John the Baptist's father, Zechariah, that his wife Elizabeth would bear a son. And we have a parallel in last week's Gospel of Mary being told by an angel that she was to bear the Son of God. Those parallel stories are told side by side so that we compare them, and it contributes to the level of excitement, anticipation that is ours as part of this Advent season. Luke leads us up to the birth of John the Baptist, when people wonder, who will this child be? And we're intended to ask the same question of Jesus. If John, the great prophet, is coming into the world, and Jesus is to be greater, who will Jesus be? But for Luke, there's more to the meeting of Mary and Elizabeth than just joy and excitement. There's something special, something sacred going on in that encounter. If you remember the Beatitudes, sometimes we read them as happy are they, but at other times we read them as blessed are they. Happiness and blessedness seem interchangeable at times in the Gospels. And here in this meeting between Elizabeth and Mary, Luke talks about the joy that is there, but also the blessedness that is there. This meeting is about discipleship. and about faith. Luke's holding up Elizabeth and particularly Mary as models of true discipleship, of faith. And at the end of that passage, we're told why, what it is that leads them to be those examples. Elizabeth says, "Blessed is she who believed." And that's really what this passage is about. That's really what this encounter, this visitation is leading to. Faith. What I think Luke is saying is that the joy that these cousins experience can be ours. And it can be ours as we celebrate the birth of God's Son, the coming into the world of Jesus. If we celebrate it with faith. If we look beyond the tinsel and the turkey and recognize that in the birth of Jesus, Emmanuel, God is truly with us.